Wasn't that awful?
That was 20.
That was
It was
60.
an awkward, scary time. At least it was for me. I had a crush on Eddie Riesdorf, a friend of my brother's. And for a whole year, I dreamed about him. That was all I dreamed about. He was so beautiful. He was tall, had brown eyes, brown hair, and a smile that reminded me of Elvis Presley, you know, with that smirk on the side. My blood just boiled whenever I was near him. And I convinced my brother Mike to talk Eddie into asking me on a date. And of course my brother made me do all his chores for a month, but it was worth it. Our first date was on a Saturday afternoon. Eddie called and asked if I wanted to go to the park with him. Well, I spent the morning pressing my jeans, polishing my saddle shoes, and fixing my hair. And I was just about to leave when my mother yelled, "Patty Joe, you are not leaving this house till you eat something." Well, Saturday afternoon lunches were always hot dogs and pork and beans. So I gobbled down the food and made a mad dash out the back door. Well, Eddie and I walked and talked around the park for hours. And when we came to the pavilion, we both headed for the bubbler. And as I was bending over to take a drink,
No.
Eddie grabbed me around the waist and squeezed. And he said, "Oh, you're so funny." But that squeeze was not a good idea. It woke the pork and beans up. The ones my mother made me eat. And the explosion could be heard for miles. It was louder than a drive-by shooting. In fact, I think it could have broke the sound barrier. I was so embarrassed. But Eddie wasn't. He was laughing. So we walked over to a couple park benches, and Eddie pulled an extra bench up for us to rest our feet on. And as I was lifting my feet, oops, another surprise. And it wasn't a girly foo-foo. It was more like low-flying jets that had just woken up a bunch of Arkansas barking spiders. And what was worse is that Eddie didn't laugh. So I really thought, well, this is the last time I'm going to be seeing Eddie. But I was mistaken, because in a few days he asked me if I wanted to go to the state fair with him. And of course I said yes. And this time, my mother caught me before I left and made me eat a bowl of spaghetti. I thought, well, at least I'm safe. It's not beans. So we went to the state fair, and I actually hate the amusement rides. You know, the ones that twirl you around till you feel like your stomach is pressing against the back of your throat. Well, to make a long story short, or a short story shorter, I threw up my mother's spaghetti.
Oh.
And now let me tell you something. None of us choose our food like we think we do. What I threw up looked like a pile of white worms. I was so embarrassed. And I thought, how is Eddie ever going to see me as sexy after I vomit a bunch of spaghetti that looks like white worms? So I snuck kind of a peek at him to see how he was handling my puke event. And at first he was gagging, but then he suddenly threw his head back and said, "Hey, let's run down the ramp and watch the guy that has to clean this up.
Oh.
Well, we weren't disappointed because two teenagers started cleaning the mess up, and they were gagging so hard they were gasping for air. And Eddie and I laughed so hard we could hardly stand up. Well, I knew my dates with Eddie were still going to happen when he called and asked if I wanted to go to the drive-in movies with him. Now, the drive-in movies in my day is a big deal. That's the big date, because that's where girls usually have their first experience of heavy necking. And I was all excited. I was so excited, I was scared to death. But sitting next to Eddie in the car and smelling his cologne kind of just made my head spin. And in order to keep from getting nervous, I took deep breaths and I lowered my voice to try to sound sexy. And Eddie parked the car, and then he hooked the speaker up. And then he said, "Do you want anything from the concession stand?" And I was so hungry because this time I snuck out of the house without eating. I said, "Sure, I'll have a hot dog." Well, Eddie returned with my hot dog. It was a juicy hot dog. They used to lay them in cardboard and then wrap them with napkins. Remember that? But I was so anxious I could hardly taste my food. And after a few minutes, Eddie looked down at my hot dog and said, "Do you realize you're eating the cardboard?" This time Eddie wasn't laughing. In fact, he had this cold judgment on his face. You know, that look that hoity-toity people have when they see street people or drug addicts. So I had to think fast. And so I turned to him and said, "Of course I'm eating the cardboard. That's the best part. All the juices fall down into the cardboard. My whole family eats the cardboard. It's the best part. We all really love it." Well, Eddie must have discussed hot dogs with my brother.